Welcome to the Pesky Report, a podcast for Red Sox fans.
All right, welcome everybody to our third Men of Tomorrow interview. I'm Ed Hand here with Nathan Landry, left-handed pitcher for the Boston Red Sox, selected in the 15th round of this year's draft, pitched in the Florida Complex League a bit last year. Who knows where he's going to start this season, but we're real happy to have you here, Nathan. How you doing?
Oh, I'm doing great. Thank you for having me, Ed. It's a pleasure.
So we were talking about this a little bit before we started here, but you're from not Montreal, but like 2 hours away from Montreal. Can you tell me about where you grew up a little bit?
Yeah, so I grew up mostly in Victoriaville, so it's like 2 hours up north from Montreal. So that's where I mostly spend high school, everything. Then after high school, I moved to a city called Trois-Rivières, which is where I'm at. I train. I studied like some post-high school stuff before moving to the junior college. So, yeah.
Gotcha. So did you like spend a year kind of doing that before you switched over before you went to JUCO, or before we even get into that, how did you start playing baseball? Because, we're in the Northeast here in Boston, and it snows during the winter, but baseball is very ingrained in the culture here. And, Expo's legendary team, my dad's absolute favorite, and the Blue Jays, but baseball isn't really as associated with Canada. So I'm wondering how you became a baseball player.
Oh, no doubt. I mean, in the past 2 years, it's been way better for that. Baseball is getting more popular, I would say, back home, because I started when I grew up, I played hockey. And then I started baseball at around 10, 11 years old. So I was really old. I mean, compared to other guys that started with like T-ball or so. So I started with hockey, started baseball during 2 or 3 months in the summer. I mean, you notice that the weather is kind of difficult to play like all year. So no, played mostly. I was in arenas all year except for those like 3 months. That was a great weather for baseball. So started there. Was not even a student athlete, in high school. So mostly hockey and then some travel ball during the summer. And that was it for me for high school.
So what do you remember like when you first started playing though? Because 11, in the States, that's most people start, it's like T-ball, and maybe you take a couple, you don't do T-ball, but you still start, 7 or 8 years old. 11 is definitely older than I usually hear for people coming on. So how did you start playing baseball?
So I started through the little league. So we had 2 teams in our region, and we just honestly played each other like 2 or 3 times a week. So I was playing against some of my playing on my brother's team, and we're playing against some of our friends that we go to school with. There's only 2 teams. So, you just play the game that you love. There's not really a big competition or whatever. It's just, you just play. You got 2 or 3 hours, 2 umpires, just having some fun during summer while it's a great weather. So, no, it was definitely different. I got a different story than a bunch of guys that probably got drafted and started at T-ball, but I started and only playing for fun. For me, I saw my cousin playing the year before, and I was like, Mom, I want to try baseball. Like, I loved it.
Were you a good hockey player also?
I really loved hockey. I chose the baseball pack because at the end with for me, that love for baseball was way, way bigger than hockey. But I loved hockey, and I was all right. I was not an exceptional talent or anything, and hockey is pretty popular back home in Quebec. So there's a lot of players. So it's really difficult to get like over that margin of everyone else. So.
Yeah, I think about that sometimes too, and it's obviously on a very different level. But I loved baseball growing up. Wasn't quite as good at that as I was at tennis. So I ended up playing high school tennis and like relatively competitively there. But it's just funny because I never had the same passion for tennis that I did for baseball. But passion can only get you so far. You need to have a degree of talent with that. And obviously you were able to find that talent. So were you always a pitcher?
So I developed as a pitcher pretty late. I mean, at first I was a lefty playing some outfield, and I was really bad at hitting. I was that speedy guy just trying to bunt, get guys over. Like it was tough for me to get over that 250 average. Like, but I love from the outfield. I love playing outfield, and I love like throwing runners out. That was the main thing for me, playing center field, everything. And I mean, I started playing baseball. It was my so my uncle was coaching me, and he's like, one day he's like, we're down by 8. He's like, we need like an inning, like we don't have any more pitchers. And I'm like, all right. So my first time pitching, it went really bad, poorly. And I was like, that's the last time. Like, I don't like that. And now it's funny because that's my job, and I love doing that. Like on the mound, it was just that pressure on the mound and everything. It was so different for me, and I just feel like I fell in love with it after the year later that I started pitching a little more.
I mean, I'm sure if it was your first time out there, I mean, baseball's a very lonely sport. Also, it's for a lot of sports. I feel like it's everybody in the team is kind of in it together. But with baseball, you're sort of waiting your turn for something to happen. And with as a pitcher, you're the one who's kind of dictating the pace. So if you get hit, everyone's going to see it. But when did you realize that you had a chance to play professionally, that you had a chance to get drafted, pitch junior college?
Oh yeah, no doubt. I mean, for me pitching, it was late. I mean, I started being a pitchers only at 16 years old. I mean, couldn't hit much. I was a left-hander. They were like, you're gonna start playing a little more only pitcher, and I was like, all right, that's fine with me. And then at that point, I was really into my stuff, into pitching. I love just doing my stuff alone, just my headphones, and kind of like mimic doing like on the mound and stuff. And then I would say like 16, 17 is kind of like when I got like some better numbers, but never really thought about professional baseball. Because I mean, in Quebec, just for this year's draft, there's been only 3 guys from Quebec that got drafted. So it's really not popular, and it's kind of like that view. We're so far away from everything's happening in the United States, like high school, like college. So for us, it's different. And I had no one around me that really played professional baseball. So, I mean, it was more for around 16, 17, that opportunity to maybe move to a college. And I mean, the safe bet was the junior college, because we didn't know much about me in the United States. So I just needed that little like window open, and that's when I took it.
How did they discover you? Like, what was did they just send like a scout over who happened to see you?
No, everything was to field level. I mean, I was playing in a travel ball, and some of our guys, I mean, we got a pretty good program here. It's called La Flèche College, and there's a bunch of different sports, and baseball is really growing up. And they were known in Quebec for sending some guys to the United States. I mean, from my class, there was like 3 guys that got sent to junior colleges in the United States. So it was always through field level prospect. I don't know if you ever heard of that. So everything's online. I mean, coaches can see most of my videos. I just post like pitching videos. And it was through email, trying to get a chance. I was saying, like, I was at night after homework, and I was sending a bunch of emails, trying to kind of like sell myself and saying like, give me an opportunity or something like that. So it was really different. It was me approaching coaches instead of like coaches approaching me.
Yeah, so you really had to figure out how to advertise yourself and hustle there. That's definitely different than you hear a lot in the States, where it's like, there was a scout at this game, or there was they have games specifically for scouts. I was talking to Nate Tellier the other week, and he was playing like a Red Sox Yankees scout game where they had like people from Boston and New York playing each other. They just had all of them go in one place. Do you remember the first time somebody actually got back, like a coach actually got back to you and said, "Hey, we're interested"?
Oh yeah, it was crazy. I mean, everything was through emails, and like luckily we had that one. We were going to Florida for like a week or 2, and it was we had a few games, and like just before spring training. I mean, in just before March, so that's where we were like playing a few games, and that's when I first got like noticed, I would say, because there's one coach that kind of like approached me, and I was like, how old are you, whatever, trying to get like that information. It was really new for me because I didn't know how to feel about that. At that point I was playing baseball just for the love of it. Like, I didn't even think about moving yet. So just getting that opportunity was really good with the first coach.
So going back a little bit, what pitchers were some of the ones you were trying to mimic, and what team did you grow up really following?
Oh, so for me, like growing up, the Blue Jays. I mean, I remember those Blue Jays years when they just traded for like they had Donaldson, Tulo, Huitzo. It's like those years that kind of watched them a lot. So I mean, David Price is one of them that I watch a lot. I mean, I always looked at left-handed pitchers. Of course, I'm as a left-handed pitcher, so I would say David Price. I mean, Clayton Kershaw, and it was funny because I saw in your intro that Chris Sale final. So Chris Sale's also a guy I look up to. I mean, lefty, three quarters arm slot. It's three top guys that I watch every day.
Yeah, and I mean, now that you're in the same organization as them and everything, did you get to talk to Sale at all when he was down? No, that would have been before, I guess, you got drafted that he was down there. But has he been around the Fort Myers facility at all?
So he's been around the facility, but kind of like at the end when it was our final week or two. I mean, when he was playing here, it was before the draft, so I didn't get to spend much time with him, but I saw him around whenever he got that wrist injury. So that's when I saw him for the first time.
Gotcha. So, when you ended up getting drafted, were you not drafted? Sorry, when you first started playing JUCO, was it on a scholarship, or was it just like, did you have to do a walk-on tryout for the team? How does that process even work?
No, luckily I was on scholarship. I mean, I was playing at Mineral Area College, so it was one of the first recruiting coordinator that kind of like texted me, and I had like a good feeling about that program. And they had a lot of international students, so they had a lot of scholarship for that too. So I mean, it was a great way for me to go to JUCO way, but also like just adapt quicker to the change in like culture and everything and language too. So.
Yeah, I guess. Did you grow up speaking French?
Yeah, I speak like only back home. It's all about French. It's my first time speaking English in a while. I mean, there's a few texts with like coaches and everything, but like speaking it 24/7. It's been a long time since I've been FCL, of course.
I used to work in a past life for Amazon, and we had this like language development thing where we were trading. It was for Alexa, and we were trading it in French Canadian.
Mm-hmm.
And it was always really fascinating to me, like how like just the little differences between like that kind of French and like France French or like Morocco French. But was that a big adjustment for you, like having to go from one language to another? Like how did you learn much English when you were in like high school?
Yeah, so luckily in high school, like I told you, I was not a student athlete. I was really focused on school. And then in my program, there was a lot of like second language. So every year I had classes, but it's second language classes in English and also 3 years of Spanish. So it's kind of like where I got my background and kind of like my basics. And I mean, it's kind of like when I first moved in JUCO. I mean, that's always a fun fact that I love to say. My first month, I probably spoke like 4 or 5 full sentences that like made sense in English. I mean, it was a big adjustment, but I had so much help at the JUCO level to kind of help me through the language. But luckily I had those like basics that I learned through those second language classes.
Yeah, there was enough. You had enough of like an introduction to it. Where did you go for JUCO?
So you mean when I go through Mineral Area College, the college?
Yeah.
Or,
yeah. Whereabout is? It's not a school I'm familiar with. Whereabout is that?
So it's in Park Hills, Missouri. So it's a little city. I would say like the only people I saw was people from school. I mean, small town. So yeah, it's in Park Hills, Missouri. I would say if you know where St. Louis is, it's like an hour south of St. Louis.
Okay, gotcha. Did you make it down to Busch Stadium there at all?
Yeah, I went. My first playoff game was the Cards game against the Braves, and it was Adam Wainwright against Mike Soroka, who's a Canadian pitcher. So it was
that must have been
matchup.
Cool.
Yeah, it was a great atmosphere. I loved it.
Yeah, they have in a lot of at least like surveys I've seen that's considered one of the best baseball cities in the country in the whole league. So that must have been really cool being that close to it.
Of course.
Now, so you pitched there for a bit. What were you studying?
So I was studying business. I was been into business administration, and my freshman year was actually the COVID year. So yeah, started my first year in JUCO was the COVID year. So we played we were starting into conference play, and then season ended, and I was like, wow, it's my first year. Like, I don't know what to expect. So went back home and finally got a chance to come back for my sophomore year, which was my first like full season in college.
That must have been very strange for you, just going from one thing to another. And I mean, at least it wasn't like your junior year or something like that when the spotlight's going to be on you. But what did you do during the COVID year? Did you just trade on the side? Did you find any leagues to play in?
Yeah, so basically back home, it was really, I mean, COVID was like different. We had curfews and everything back home in
Oof.
Quebec, Canada. So it was really difficult for me to find like a facility to work out at. So what I did, I had, that's a funny stuff. I had hockey net, hockey nets they used to play like on the street, like you just
Yeah.
shoot pucks. And I used a hockey net, just build kind of like a plywood to have that like strike zone. And that's when I would be in my backyard and kind of like work out and throw for baseballs. So I went through remote training online during COVID. And I mean, that's one way that I got lucky because it was my freshman year during that like COVID year, and just helped me build those better habits and those better movement patterns that I had the chance to do during COVID, because it was one-on-one time. That's what I had to do every day. I mean, it was curfew. There was nowhere you could go but you're out. So it was one way for me to just keep working out. So I had that little gym at home, and that's what I did all COVID.
When you came back, was your velocity up? Did you notice that there any changes in your performance after just a kind of a year off and training?
Yeah, so year off was really the best for me. I mean, I came back with better movements, velocity was better, it was more effortless. I really work on those like movement patterns a lot. So I mean, arm pat changed a lot, and then I think it was that we could notice that difference between that freshman and sophomore year into velocity. So that was one way of me just working on my craft during COVID.
Before we go a little bit more forward with this, what did your parents think of this? Of you like heading off to the U.S. to pursue baseball?
I mean, it was different because we have, like I told you, we have no one here that, like, I would say we have like 40 or 50 French Canadian that actually do it every year, go like everywhere in the U.S. So for me, I had no, like, I had a few friends that did it, so I had like a little background that I could like focus and be like, all right, what to expect. But for my parents, it was completely new because I was in a family with like school, like like you go through
Yeah.
high school. Between high school and university, we got like it's kind of like a junior college. I would say mandatory junior college. It's called CJEP. And then after it was university. So I did that CJEP, and then I was going through university. I was applying for universities back home in Quebec, and then I had the chance, and it was just having that sit down with the parents and be like school is still going to be like at first, like I'm a student athlete, like don't worry, like so it was just keeping up with those grades. And I mean, like when they saw that like baseball was going well, and I had those like University of Missouri like reaching out and stuff, they were like, all right, like I think it was a great move. But before that, it was really difficult to kind of like told them, hey mom, finally I'm not going to Quebec, I'm going to United States for university. Yeah.
Just a little further away. And you said you had a brother. Do you have like a big family? You guys
Yeah, so
guys
I
all
only
close?
have yeah, we're pretty close. I mean, a brother 2 years younger than me. He was really, really good at hockey, and he's now like full-time job. I mean, every friend of mine here is like it's their adult life. Like I get the chance to play baseball like back in the US, but they're all like apartments. They're starting to build families. So it's really funny to see the difference of where I ended up and where's like my brother and all my friends at.
Yeah. What do your folks do?
My parents, my mom works in a school, so she's like I don't know how to say that in English. Actually, she's kind of like helping kids in need, kind of.
Oh, like a
There's
special
like
education teacher. That's what
specialized
that's what my
education.
mom does.
Yeah, awesome. So that's what she does, and she would love to actually teach it like in the near future in universities here. So there's like programs for that like at the university. So she would love to teach it in the next few years. And I mean, my dad's got a company. He's working like those shop, like the classic shop, in a big company for like papers back home.
Okay, cool. So
Yeah.
seems like you had like a pretty nice family life growing up. That's gotta be cool for them seeing you get drafted. But before that, so you went from JUCO to University of Missouri.
Yeah.
How does that happen? Like where you go from like a smaller college to one of these big like Division I schools?
Mm. Of course, that was another big adjustment for me. I mean, came from a small city in Quebec, moving to a small city in the U.S., and then whenever University of Missouri reached out to me, I think it was a perfect fit because I mean, I was probably like 2 or 3 hours from them from my JUCO, and when I first visited campus, it was actually in the fall because it was a dead period after COVID, so I couldn't like there was no like actual visits. So the first time I stepped on campus was like during the summer, and it was me with one of my friends from JUCO that went there, and it was like there was no like official visit. So I went there, and it was just crazy. I mean, just stepping on like campus, big campus that I love to say that you see like on TV shows and everything. I mean, for me at first, I thought it was like a stereotypes or something like big schools in the United States, and I'm having the chance to actually be like on campus. It was just crazy. Another big adjustment.
Did you find the competition of play stepped up a lot? Because you were saying before there were two teams when you were in Little League and you guys were just playing each other over and over again. And I would imagine as you go up, there are more players and everything. But was it a big competitive jump? Like with just the hitters getting better, the opposing pitchers getting better?
No, of course. I mean, it was a big jump, but luckily, in my last like 2 or 3 years, I was in summer ball league back home in Quebec with a lot of college guys. So I had that like first taste of I was at the face actual like college hitters. So that really helped me, I think, with that level to JUCO. But then going to JUCO to the SEC, that was a big step. And I think it was just going back to those basics. I mean, I'm born playing like one team against another, like two teams. I mean, it was going back to like I got the baseball, like I control what I can control. I mean, and not being too much into that like, oh, I'm facing like big hitters or something. So it kind of like I would build like my mindset of like facing and having one pitch at a time and just having fun playing the game.
What what kind of pitcher would you say you are? Because you're left-handed, but what type of like what do you like to throw?
I like so my best two pitches are fastball slider. I mean, I'm a like they say the right fastball. Like to use that fastball on the top of the zone. I'm still working the off season to get that little peak in velocity, but I mean, as I showed in my last like 3 years, I attack the zone, work quick. I got a funky delivery. I mean, hike the ball like really long. So I would say that's what creates me. I'm at that best when I attack pitchers, get that first pitch strike, and just finish them with my best stuff. So yeah.
It's going into draft day, pretty recently, not even 4 months ago. Was that June, July? It
Yeah, it
was
was
pretty recent.
Yeah, it was mid-July when it happened. I mean, I had a few conversation. It was I didn't know what to expect. I had like a few meetings to go back at Missouri. Like I was planning to go back to University of Missouri as a senior. I had a few talks, but I was like, I mean, I don't want to get too ahead of myself. And I'm like, if it happens, it happens. That was always my go-to quote to think and just like keep working out in the summer. And I was like, all right. So when the draft day happens, I would say I would like if I tell you that I was not nervous. I mean, it was that little nerves. I mean, there might be a chance, there might not be. So I had a few talks, and I mean, Boston was the number one team that like reached out to me in season and also ahead of the draft. So whenever I got that call, it was crazy. I blacked out for a second, really not expecting it, and that was crazy. It was just a crazy day. Then a few days after, it was just getting back to normal and having the chance to go to that facility in FCL. That was great.
How quickly did you sign after you were drafted, and did you know that you were going to? Because I feel like you have a lot more leverage as a junior than you do as a senior, right?
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, I had that leverage, but I mean, now with baseball, there was like you don't get leverage as a senior. So for me, it was getting that opportunity. I mean, that fair opportunity and having the chance to finish cool was the perfect fit. So honestly, once I got that opportunity, I probably thought about it, slept on it for 24, 48 hours, and then I signed right away. So for me, it was taking that opportunity while it's there and just make the most of it.
Did you? Who was the first person you told? Were you with your family, or were you? So they must have known. Were they excited?
Yeah, so I was on day 3, and I was actually at my during the day. I was normal schedule. Went to my indoor facility. It was like 45 minutes away from my hometown. And when I got back home, that's when it was like 1 or 2 p.m. That's kind of when the day 3 like started for the draft. So I had my draft tracker on the side, and I was just doing my normal routines, just eating, making food, just trying to do stuff and not be too much into the computer and hoping for my name to kind of like pop out. So no, it was just that normal routine. I had my mom at home with my brother. So we know it was like a day that it could happen, but I didn't want to make like too much of it. Yeah.
I don't know how you manage to distract yourself. I'd just be refreshing my phone constantly. Like that's amazing though. People were talking. I remember the first day of the draft, first 2 days. It's just a lot of talk like, oh, they keep drafting shortstops, and then after that, it was a lot of relief pitchers. Have you gotten a chance to really bond with the other guys drafted, especially the other pitchers?
No, of course. Whenever I showed up on in Fort Myers, we were in hotels, and my roommate was a pitcher from Oklahoma University, Jared Gottman. He was that 19 rounder, I think, and he was my roommate. And that's when we started hanging out more with like the pitchers. I was more hanging out with the pitchers, of course, and it was kind of like a fun draft class. I mean, they drafted like all college guys, so a bunch of junior and seniors. So just having to spend every day with guys like your age, I think the adjustment made it better. So I think it was nice for us. But yeah, it was a big adjustment, but all guys that come from like 4-year university. So adjustment was pretty quick.
How did they how was the orientation there? Did they just fly you down to the complex and then like you go over administrative stuff, or like how is the process of kind of getting you entwined in the organization?
Oh, the process was fast. I mean, the draft was on the Tuesday, and I mean by Sunday I was flying to Fort Myers.
Oh wow.
I mean, I had like a few days to just pack a few stuff. Didn't know how long I would be there. I mean, I was moving there. The first week was mostly all like medical stuff, lots of meetings to go through, like philosophy, nutrition meetings, psychology meetings. So it was just getting that first taste of professional ball. So we didn't even get to practice with the FCL until like 2 weeks after. So 2 weeks after, we start like practicing with them, following their routine, watching the games whenever they were playing at home. So I think for me, it was a great like adjustment, because I think if it was sent like right away into practice, it would have been like kind of big. I think just getting that step back of like those 2 weeks just of like meetings, practicing just together, I think it was the best fit for all of us.
What did you get into a lot of games this year? Because I know the first year it's usually sort of at the end of the season. What was your first game like when you got to make your debut?
Yeah, so basically what we had like 6 pitchers out of this new draft class that got the chance to play at the FCL level. So I mean, first live at bat was kind of crazy. It was on a Friday, and then so that Sunday day off, whatever, went back on Monday. Saw my name on the schedule to pitch on Tuesday. So it was the next Tuesday after. I was like, all right, I got an inning on Tuesday. So little nerves, of course, of that first. I was excited, a lot of excited. I mean, getting the chance to play the game you love at the professional level. I mean, every kid's dreamed that. So just seeing it, but I was a lot of nerves. I mean, getting that first batter out, kind of make it better. I didn't have the best first outing. I mean, we'll learn a lot for that, and I learned a lot for that. But just having the chance to get that first inning out of the way and just focus on what I do best, it was the best. Yeah.
So you talk about the learning about the philosophy of the organization. Did anything surprise you?
Not much. I mean, pitching philosophy was a lot similar to at the University of Missouri, because I had the chance to share knowledge with Brian DeLunas, who was a pitching coach bench coach at the major league level a lot, like on the pitching side. So Yeah, I got to learn a lot from him on pitching philosophy at the highest levels, and I think it was pretty similar. I think just making sure that we're on the same track. But from my background at the University of Missouri, it was pretty similar.
Do you think that that's part of? I mean, aside from just your talent and ability, do you think that a similar philosophy might have been part of why they drafted you?
I mean, that might be it, I think, because I think they're looking for a lot of guys that just get ahead in the zone, pitch to their strengths, that like basic stuff. So I mean, I think playing that way kind of helped me get a track from the Boston Red Sox. So yeah.
Have you gotten to meet, like, as far as the coaches go? Have you gotten to meet with any of like the higher up guys there? Like, or is it mostly just you're down in Fort Myers and it's the people that are on staff there?
Yeah, it was mostly the people on staff there. I mean, the first week there was a lot of pitching coordinators to kind of make sure that we're like going through like those pitching philosophies and everything, just making sure we're all set in Fort Myers. But after that first week, it was mostly with the pitching coach that are there. So I spend most of my days with Blanton and coaches, like other coaches there on the staff at the FCL level.
I know that with Hurricane Ian hitting Fort Myers, there was supposed to be the like the fall workout program, but that's
Yeah.
been since pushed back. Have you heard at all if there's going to be some kind of like a substitute program for that, or is it sort of still up in the air?
So unfortunately, we get that it's officially like canceled. So when we first learned the news, we were supposed to leave. I think it was October 4th through October 10th. Then it got delayed, and then finally it got like canceled. So we had a bunch of meetings last week with a bunch of people from all themes. I mean, baseball. I mean, nutrition. I mean, psychology. So we had a bunch of meetings to make sure we're on the right track for that off-season program. So we got all our workouts and everything, and we're gonna get like more meetings through the off season. But now, unfortunately, we didn't get the chance. So that's why I was kind of happy of having the chance to play at the FCL. I mean, compared to like other pitchers that get the chance. So I mean, just getting that first taste of like pro ball, I think was perfect for me to get ready for my first full season.
Yeah, just get you wanting more, get you that little taste. I can't imagine if you hadn't gotten into a game just having to wait that entire off season
Totally.
for it. I feel like that would be maddening.
Yeah.
So you got to watch some of these some pretty talented guys play. Can you tell me a little bit about just a few guys that have been coming up on some scouting reports? I heard some pretty crazy scouting reports about outfielder Miguel Blaze. Did you get to watch him at all?
Yeah, I watched him. I mean, early in the when I got there, because after he had that injury that kept him out of the field, so he didn't get the chance to play at the end. So of course, it was a big loss for us whenever we were in the playoffs. But I mean, Luis Perales, like you told me like before, I mean, it's one guy who was it was kind of crazy to see pitch, and you're like you see those guys, and you're like, all right, you're at the pro level with a bunch of guys being their own play, just watching him pitch. But of course, I mean, like every coach told us, they were really excited with that group. I mean, we got there for like a month, and then it felt like I was there for the whole season, just being a part of that team. And I mean, coaches were pretty excited with the group we had because we had a lot of talent on the team, and you name a few of those. But yeah, no, it was a talented team that we had down there, of course.
There's another guy from your draft class, Brooks Brandon, the catcher. Did you get to throw to him at all?
I got to throw bullpens with him. I didn't get to throw in games with him, but yeah, I spent some times in bullpens working on my craft with him.
How much at that level, do you work with the catchers? Is it the coaches calling the game? Is it are you picking your own pitches? Is the catcher calling it?
I mean, it's a big teamwork between me and my catcher. Like often, it's really easier when you're on the same page. But on the same page, excuse me. But no, of course. I mean, at the end of the day, you're calling your own game. Like, what you can like if you trust more that pitch or that pitch at any counts. But so yeah, at the end of the day, it was the coaches were not calling it. It was a suggestion from the catcher, and then you either decide to throw it or not. So at the end of the day, you get the last call.
Cool. It's we're really looking forward to following for following what you're doing next season, and it's been really cool having you here. I've got a couple of lightning round questions for you, though. Okay, so you can't do more than a sentence for your answer. The shorter the answer, the better. Okay.
Okay.
So we're just gonna blast through this. Okay.
Right.
Player you would most like to strike out.
I would say Machado.
That is going to endear you to Red Sox fans. First baseball game you went to?
Fenway Park. It was
Really?
crazy. Fenway Park, Chris Sale against the Braves. Yeah, first official professional baseball game.
Wow, that's really cool. I think I actually remember that game too.
Mm-hmm.
Favorite player growing up?
Clayton Kershaw.
Another makes sense. Another lefty. Single best pitch you've seen somebody throw. Like what? Like if you could take a pitch from any pitcher, who would it be and what pitch?
Oh, it would be DeGrom's glove side fastball. Have to.
Why is that? This can be a little bit long. I know he's Jake DeGrom, but I'm just curious from like the craft perspective of this, like the craftsmanship behind it.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's got the best. Like that's why I specify glove side fastball, because I mean that's what opens up his harder slider, and I mean that pitch just makes him dominant. I've watched him pitch a lot, and this guy just sets up that pitch so well, and you know it's coming, and guys can still hitting. So yeah, I mean a 1-2 fastball, I won't say no.
Coach that you would most like, that you haven't been coached by him yet, but you would most like to play under and learn from.
Oh, that's a great question. Got to think about that one. You mean at the professional level, whatever?
Yeah.
I mean, for me, but my first answer was at University of Brian DeLunas, because when I was at University of Missouri, he was supposed to be my pitching coach during the spring, but he passed away during Christmas break, and I didn't get the chance to. So I worked with him all like that fall semester. So that's have to be my answer, because I will give anything to have a chance to play for him. Mostly.
Oh man, that must have, just going into that a little bit more, I had no idea. Was this what? Sorry, did you say that was your sophomore year when this happened?
No, it was during my junior year. So I spent 2 years in JUCO, went to University of Missouri. We had a new pitching coach, Brian DeLunas, that was there for a lot of years. Had some health problems, stepped out of professional baseball, came back where he started at the University of Missouri to be the pitching coach, and he had some health problems, he had kidney problems, and his nephew was actually on the team with us. He was one of the pitchers, and just sharing his knowledge like all semester, and then learning the tough news like right after Christmas break. It was tough, but yeah, it was a big shock for our whole group as a whole. That's why we're kind of like devastated with last year. I ended up, because we really want to play for him like every day. We didn't make the SEC tournament, unfortunately, but that was kind of like our mojo like all year.
Yeah, I mean that's got to be so hard when you have someone like that like, you know, with a coach and everything that you clearly learned a lot from. What's something that he taught you that's really stuck with you as you've advanced through your career?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it was kind of like that professional pitching philosophy. I mean, you know, I was a kid like working hard. He had a lot of trust in me. It was just making sure that I pitch to my strengths every time, and I don't get involved too much in like the first pitch. Just attack early. It was that big mentality: attack early and finish up with your strengths. So it was really those like basics that you just make sure that everyone knew, because it's so easy at the like college level to try to do too much, but at the end of the day, you see professional baseball and they like pitching philosophy, they keep it like really simple. I mean, guys throw their best stuff and attack the zone early, and you see the best games from any pitcher. They got their first pitch strike, they got quick outs, and that's the best games right there.
Yeah, there's definitely, you don't hear a lot of people complaining about 2-hour pitching duels, you know.
Oh, never.
What do you like to do outside of baseball?
Coaching. I'm in here coaching, working out. Those are going to be my 3 words.
Do you read into that stuff at all, or is it more just like experiences that you've had and you try to incorporate that?
Yeah, I started reading a lot more about pitching for the past like 3 years, I would say. Trying to, I mean, it's one great way of getting your craft better, knowing yourself better, and being able to coach yourself. I mean, at the end of the day, when you're on the mound, the coach is not right next to you to make that adjustment. So I start reading about that, or reading about pitching mentalities, kind of like that more head game. I mean, like the just that mentality part of like pitching. So yeah, those are the words that yeah.
Yeah, you mentioned that you alluded to that a little bit earlier about,
Mhm.
like you had a rough outing, but it was a good experience. And I feel like that you have to have that mentality, right? Like if you're just going to be fixating over every mistake, I mean, it's baseball, if you're a hitter, you're going to fail 7 out of 10 times and you're one of the best players in the game. Do you find that it's a similar mentality as far as pitchers go?
Oh, no doubt. I mean, it was one word that came up a lot in those first 2 weeks is like you're gonna fail, but what are you gonna do about it? So it was one way. I mean, every day you fail. It's either at the baseball field, it's in your life, like you're gonna fail. It's more that mentality of what you're gonna do about it, and that's why I've really been focused in the past 3 years. And with last year, I had a lot of talks with just about that, about just those after talk games. Just make sure that your head is right to make sure that you get a good week of preparation for those weekend series and at the university. But that was one way in the past 2 years that I really focused on.
Do you follow like the World Baseball Classic stuff at all?
Just a little bit. I like not as much as I used to. I mean, Canada is not really on it, so. But yeah, I've been watching a few guys.
Do you think that that's something that you might want to compete in someday?
Oh, that's one way. I mean, representing Canada will be great. I never had the chance to do that. I mean, there's that national junior team in Canada, and I mean under 18, but I was not up there yet. I mean, had to go through my own like process and everything. But one day, if you're telling me what you'd love to do, I mean, representing Canada in baseball would be one of them.
It's always amazing to me how much Canadians will root for their own in the MLB, whether it's Russell Martin, Michael Sanders. I
Mhm.
actually, so my dad went to school in Montreal, and he has a lot of his friends are like pretty big baseball fans, and it's just they know everything about every Canadian player over the years. It's insane. I mean, not just like the Joey Vottos, like the people like guys that got like Adam Stern, guys that maybe got a few at bats in the majors here and there, and it's always been like pretty amazing to me how feverish it is there now. Do you think that Montreal is ever going to get a team back?
I hope they do, but I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think right now they have the facility to do it. And I think like there's a lot to think about in the province, but like baseball. So yeah, I think it's tough to say it. I'm trying to be as honest as possible, but I
No,
don't think it's in the short term. Yeah.
no, prefer the honesty. I remember, like,
Mhm.
they were talking about that split season thing with Tampa and Montreal the other year, and then they shot it down. That was because I remember, I have it. I wish I had brought it out. I have like this like Russian nesting doll of Orlando Cabrera from like the last year that the Expos were around, because
Wow.
that was when my sister was there, and like we go, you could get like 3 tickets for 3 games for like $10. It was it's I understand why there isn't a team there anymore, but it was a great environment, and the fans there are excellent. It's just I don't
Oh
know.
yeah,
Like
no doubt.
I hope so. I really do genuinely hope someday they go back there, and not just because it's an easy commute from
Mhm.
Boston.
Oh yeah. Oh, no
um,
doubt. I mean, Boston is closer to Montreal than I am to Toronto, so no, it's that's why it's a great way. But as you said, I mean, people here, like since I got drafted, I mean, people know even guys in the minor leagues. I mean, there's like I told you, there's 3 guys from Quebec that got drafted. Like we talked a lot about that, so it's like kind of like funny to like compare to like a first rounder in the United States. I feel like a first rounder in Quebec. I mean, the way people are like happy for you and just rooting for you. So just getting that love from your city and your province back home is it's so great.
yeah, no, I mean it's got to be pretty amazing to feel like you're a part of this bigger community and to really be accepted into it. So one last question for you. This is what I end every interview on. Do you have any pets?
Any pets? I got 4 dogs.
4 dogs. 4.
Yeah, 4 dogs.
What kind are they? What kind do you got?
So 3 of them are pure like golden Labrador. So and then one of them is how do you say that, Chihuahua, whatever.
Oh, you got a Chihuahua?
Oh, yeah. So we got those big 3 dogs and a little dog following them.
Is the little one the leader? Like, is the Chihuahua the alpha?
No, I would say the Chihuahua is like the older one. It's like the respected, like older one. And he's getting a little old, so he's not as easy to follow. He's got a little more nap time than the other 3. So he's the respected one. We'll say it that way.
Yeah, I don't know if you heard it earlier. I've got she's like a Chihuahua Corgi Jack Russell. There's some kind of a mix of a bunch of these little things, but I swear it's like clockwork. I don't know what it's going to happen, but anytime I am on air with somebody, she will start screaming at something.
Yeah.
It's got like I just accept it at this point. They can be very noisy, but
they want to say hi. They want to be part of the podcast. They want to say hi, so that's why
she'll probably climb on the screen sometimes while I'm doing it, be like, "Oh, hey, what's up, man? How you doing?"
That's so funny.
What are your names? What are their names?
Oh, so first one is Maya. We got some French names. It's kind of like there's a little white line here, so it's called white in French, so it's Blanche. So if you want to learn about it, and yet the little Chihuahua is Mimi. Mimi.
That's such a good name for a Chihuahua.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's great though. And again, thank you so much for coming on. We're definitely going to be following your progress through the season, seeing where you're at. Where can our listeners follow you? Where can they find you?
I mean, I'm a lot on Instagram. I mean, Twitter, kind of like the same. I mean, you type. It's usually I don't even know. I need to look on my Twitter. I think it's Nate_Landry 17, and then on Instagram it's Landry Nate, but it's NATH. I mean, yeah.
There you go.
Like that French version of Nate.
Just type it in your search bar and you'll find them. And wishing the best of luck to you. Hoping you have a good holiday season. Come back strong, and we'll see where you're at come April, March, May.
Thank you for having me. Always a pleasure to just tell my story. So thank you so much.
Pleasure to have you. We'll see you guys next time.
Thanks for watching. Make sure to follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at Pesky Report. Make sure to like, subscribe, and leave a review.
Thank you for listening to this Belly Up Sports Podcast Network product. Some said we go belly up, so we made it our name, and we're still here.